Good afternoon, Brian with Grand Roofing. We're in the attic trying to find a roof leak, and there's some things I think we can learn. That's why I pulled the phone out, so you might be able to help find a leak if you got a similar situation going on. Alright, so this is a roof over, and most of the time I see a roof over and get called for a leak. It's usually around a vent pipe, a wall, flashing chimney, some sort of penetration with flashing, the soil vent pipes like that one back there. And that's what I was expecting, but I just got here, and honestly, it's a somewhat decent roof over. And I want to show some evidence on what you're looking for, like these little spots down here. Now, don't get those confused with some other things you'll see, like that one on the left. That's a mouse hole. Believe it or not, mice can get up into an attic like this, and they love the insulation for little warm spots. You can see where they have little channels. I can see with my eye. It might be hard for the camera to see where they do run around. But if you look here, most of the time, see my fingers are dry, reach in here, and you can see how it's wet insulation. So you can verify there's two drips right here going into that. You can also, let me just do it on camera. I'll refluff this back up. We're gonna go right on the edge of that and get down, and you can see the drywall. It's black. Well, not black, it's wet, full of water. Or lightly fluff that so it does its insulation properties back. And we can also confirm there is a spot of water right here. Now, what usually goes wrong when they do a roof over? They don't tuck under the penetration. So if it's a box vent of whatever sort, a vent pipe like that back there, the flashing for it, a chimney, a wall, step flashing, doesn't matter. If you don't tuck under that, it's going to cause a problem. Now, when I got up on the roof and did look at this, it actually is tucked under, so that's good, but the vent looks really old. It's like they saved the vent. They did a roof over, they didn't use starter at the bottom edge, ran line on the old roof, but they at least did tuck under this. Now, my guess is, if it was reused, because it's a lot older, boy, my foot's so uncomfortable, there's probably nail holes in these spots that it's not supposed to be. When they reused it, water's probably coming in a nail hole of an old nail hole, and then bypassing the headlap of the shingle that's tucked under the flange here. So it would be coming under that and then hitting the next seam in your decking, which is running out. I wiped it away because I checked and it was indeed wet, but it was coming out. You can kind of see it right there, little wet spot. And then it just dripped straight down to that spot I showed you. So what we're going to recommend doing is removing this box vent and fixing it. There are a few others with spots. I don't know if they're old damage because I can't find any wet spots in the insulation. I don't see any nails dripping through. But some of the things you can look for the evidence, like I said, are wet spots, not to be confused with mouse entrances and things like that. You can feel for it after a rain. It usually lingers for a few days before it dries out. You can scoop the insulation back, see the wet spot like I showed you on the drywall. Make sure you cover it back up. This roof that's up here is probably only 7 years old. Of course, you can't see it. We're in the attic. I'm going to recommend that it a couple of small repairs and just evaluate and see what it does. Right here's a good spot. Those, you can see, those are little mouse entrances where they burrow through here to stay warm, at least in my region. Oh no, did the camera flip sideways? Not good. You're probably watching this whole thing flip sideways. Oop, and my light goes off. Well, this is a technical error on my end. All right, it comes back. I'm gonna have to edit this in editing software and flip it sideways because I think it started recording in landscape. All right, we're up on the roof now. If you're watching this, this is part 2 edited into one video. We've got this taken loose. We can see water coming in. I have a pretty good idea what's causing this, and we can learn from it. So what I thought it might have been, because this is a newer roof over and the box vent looks like it's pretty aged. I'm aware of this neighborhood being built now 25 years ago or so. It's probably the original vent. When they did the roof over, they did tuck under the bottom, so you want to see a part of the flashing flange, or they can hide it. I'm not a fan of that. The biggest thing is the shingle needs to go under the flange of whatever it is. So the water coming off and diverts around comes onto a shingle. Now, I've talked about close cut valleys like that there, and I can show you a good example of that. And that same principle of clipping the corners of a close cut valley, actually, let me just show you that now so it'll make more sense. This is a close cut valley. Lower side crosses over, high side, they cut a line. Now, years back, manufacturer said if you do a close cut valley, you need to nip the corners. So let me try to find one I can show you with a good point. Right down here, I can get one to see. All right, so see this little point right here? That point is when you cut this shingle, because it crossed over and the bottom crossed over, and you cut that, that point can catch water. Water can actually run down that due to surface tension, and you don't ever want to nail in your valley area, but it can run over, and I have seen them travel over 2 feet before and get in on stuff. So you don't want to do that. What they recommend is nipping it. I call it a little dog ear nip corner. So when you get your valley cut, you're just going to reach under this and you're going to nip these corners right here, coming down like that. Doesn't have to be much. During the install, it's really easy because they're not brittle, they're not dry, they're still really oily shingles. They can be pliable. Just nip them, doesn't take much. So if water hits it, it's going to run down that path of least resistance down and not use surface tension run over. Now keep that point in mind right now. Even if it's a new install and you're going to do a box vent, the headlap of this shingle, and this one maybe, nah, it's going to be high. This shingle here, the headlap, you got a point there. Water coming around this can catch that point and jump the little flashing flanges. Doesn't matter what it is. If you look right here, see that point? It's really tight. Technically, you're supposed to have a small channel around these for water to run out. But if water catches this, which it will, it's like a block, it'll run laterally. If it wasn't sealed very good, it can easily jump off. Most of the time they have a little rib here, and that's just a little channel to help water run down. It actually is wet, and you can see the water up in there. You can see right there, all the water that's coming in because it's catching this top point right here, and it's running laterally and getting under this row of shingles. And you can see when they did tuck the new roof layer under, which was good, they should have technically taken the entire roof box vent out, replaced it, or if they're going to use it, tuck it in under just this layer right here. What has happening is water's running off of that due to that catch, that corner right there, and it's coming down under this. It's then running down. In the video prior to this, you saw it's on the roof deck and it's catching the seam of the OSB and dripping in right in that spot, or running laterally and dripping in. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this out completely right here. Let me run back to the shop, get a little piece of ice and water, put it up under there, cut the vent hole, and put the vent in just under this layer, nipping the corners. Problem is, each one of these might be the same way. And that's also why they're probably relying on so much caulking coming in down around these edges. You don't need to do this. If it's installed right, any water that gets in these baffles, it'll actually just run out through the bottom right here. The reason also these baffles are baffled up, you might think, why aren't they down to shed water? Years back, all the heat coming out of the attic would actually scorch the roof right here, and it would leave like a dome look around these. Actually, it's not really affecting the shingle. What you're seeing is the heat is much hotter than off just a little bit, and it keeps the blue-green algae from growing around those areas. Again, you don't need to have them so tight. You don't need to cut it. And like I said, the baffles are up to get the heat to come up and out, not down onto your roof deck. So just a quick rundown of a box vent, what to do, what not to do, and cutting your corners. I also did see this, where somebody had a nail. The keyway's awfully close, but they did at least wedge it, put a shim, in a sense, of another shingle piece in there. But those are areas you're not wanting to see. I pulled a nail out right here. You don't want nail in your keyway. And I have shown this little tip before, how I check without breaking seams. I took this apart so I could get into it. We're gonna check like this right here. Where two come together, if it's got a nail in that area, if it's where you can just lift it up, great. But if not, you don't want to break the seal strip. If you gently lift up on it, that one's got a nail close. Okay, so you see this right here. See how that comes? It's lifting the shingle under it. So the seal strip is bonded here good. You don't need to split it. If you lift and it tends to pull gently on this, there's no nail on that general area. Now this one I can show you. You see how it's got a point right here where it's like pivoting? It's pinned down. There's a nail there, and that is too close. It's probably the edge here. They are, it's supposed to shoot here, but they drifted and actually shot here. You want to keep it away from these. Every one of those, keep them away. All right, I gotta get busy. I got some more stuff to do. The weather is moving in. It's supposed to pop up some possible severe storms around 2 p.m. today. Today is what, Tuesday, April 2nd? Yeah, so anyway, much better weather pattern than last year at this time. Last year, yesterday, we had rain, as in the video I did. We actually, a year ago, had the funnel cloud hit through Kokomo. So I got to wrap up, get busy. If you got anything good out of it, could give it a thumbs up. If you know anyone looking to try to find a leak issue, send them these videos. I try to do it to help you guys. If you're in my area and you need something looked at, give us a shout. Since I had to edit, we're going to throw this in since I'm editing already, and I can show you some of the good visuals here. So obviously you're seeing something different. It's ice and water. I just call this a little wing of an ice and water to extend out past where this flange is going to go. And why I wanted to do this and point out the video is this corner. This corner I talked about needing to be nipped. Water catches and runs laterally, and it was running off above this here and going under that layer of roof. So all this does is just extends that. I just call it a little wing, ice and water wing. You can see it just covers all this old junk here, so if water misses, it's going to get on top of this and not bypass it up here. It's nothing more than a little piece of ice and water shoved up under there. And obviously you cut your hole. Only other big thing I did do is trim down this edge, made it just a little bit wider to give you a little more room, get rid of all that old caulking, and clipped the corner. This is the big one. So water coming down hits this, it's not going to defy gravity and go up the roof deck here. It will hit it and run down back to its channel and run out. Whereas this one, it's going to hit, and some can run laterally, and that's where this leak was coming from. The only other difference is the flashing flange. We always add a little bead of sealer around it to help, because they are so small and this little rib is very small. It's just an extra precaution. You don't want to ever nail in this area. You try to nail close to. Honestly, even if you miss it and you're out here, it's going to pin down good. It's all going to be sealed off with a little bead of sealer. Nails on the bottom. If it is a box vent or a flashing flange like that, maybe I can show you a good visual there. You never want to nail the bottom edge. I don't know why I see people all too often shoot the bottom edge. They think it's what you're supposed to do, and it's absolutely wrong. It's a bad idea, because water surface tension will wick up under the flashing flange, hit the shank of the nail, and drip in. Same on the outer edge. This one is, however, going to be completely under here, so it'll be fine to put this nail in that area. But the bottom center one, if you do, bring it up a little bit. That's a good point visual here. Flashing flanges exposed are fine, but when I'm talking about pulling your nails up and in, you don't want them on the bottom because it'll wick under, and same down this side. That's why this caulking is here. Over time, water wicks in there due to surface tension, gets in on that nail shank, rusts out and drips in where they lift up. You got a penetration. Just avoid, it's controversial. Some people don't want to nail them at all. If you do, just bring them up and in. I don't like wind-driven rain getting under there, raccoons lifting up on them, so I do nail mine. And yes, some people say, oh, that's junk, use threaded screws. Yes, threaded screws are going to hold even better because you got threads into the wood, but a nail is plenty sufficient. I'm just showing the location of them if you do. All right, we're going to get this in, get it going, because we got some more storms popping up out west of here. But really, that's all there is to it. Nip this other corner, shove this up under, nail it off, and we are good to go. Now, I think this is finally the end of the video. So whatever point you've seen, I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you learned something. Until next time, be safe. We'll see you on the next one.